Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. I'm Brian, your host, and I thought this week would be a fun time to dip in yet again to my collection of vintage toy store flyers. These are the kind of newspaper circulars that we got as kids in the paper, and we looked at the toy ads and then we threw them out. So to find these is a bit of a challenge, and I'm very grateful for the ones that I have and found. And this week's subject is a Child World flyer from 1976. And this one means a great deal to me personally because it was gifted to me by a legendary toy collector, Robert Bruce, who sadly has since passed on. And his message to me was, I know you'll share this with the world, so I want you to have it. He could have easily charged me a couple $100. I probably would have bought this. And instead, he just mailed it to me. It was a truly lovely gesture, and I want everyone to know what a good guy he was. Child World was a chain that began life in 1962 in Massachusetts, and the stores also went under the name Children's Palace, and oftentimes they had a distinct look where it would look like a castle. At the height of their popularity, they had about 180 some odd stores across the United States. And I know many collectors who have really fond memories of visiting Child World as a kid. And I certainly have some toys in my collection that have, Child World stickers. And sometimes that can grab a premium from a certain collector. They unfortunately folded in 1992. And I remember that very well because they closed out all their warehouse stock. And it was like vintage toy-orama. I was lucky enough to visit those stores before they shut down, so I luckily did get to go to Child World, despite being a Canadian. The flyer I've chosen for this particular period in time is something that, I'm obsessed with, and that is the 1976 era, of Space 1999 mania. It burned brightly, but not for a long time. So there's a lot of really classic items in this one, and they really are kind of giving you the pulse of what 5-year-old me would want. So I thought we'd do a montage, and then I'll talk about some of my favorite things in here. Hang tight. Just wanted to remind everybody that issue 7 of Toy Ventures magazine is now available. If you missed reading old school print magazines about vintage toys, then Toy Ventures may be for you. It celebrates toys and action figures from the 1960s to about the 1990s. We have 7 issues right now to choose from on a variety of subjects. Details for my store are in the link. Thank you for considering. So the first toy I want to talk about here is the Mattel Eagle. I know I've done an entire episode on this thing, but honestly, it deserves to be at the front of this flyer. It is an amazing toy by Mattel, and I cannot believe they spent this kind of money on this item. It is a beautiful replica of the ship, and it is one of the coolest spaceship toys I've ever owned. And I wish Mattel had done more with their properties like Battlestar Galactica or Flash Gordon and done stuff like this. It truly is amazing. The other item I want to talk about is the Mattel Moonbase Alpha playset. I plan to do an episode of this in the future. It's a pretty well done playset, even if I don't care for the Mattel Space 1999 figures because they're kind of just the Sunshine family. But the set itself is really, really cool, and I'll get more into that. Other highlights, of course, are the $6 Million Man, who is, still selling strong in 1976, and definitely something I owned as a kid. You also have Evel Knievel, whose popularity was, pretty much an evergreen up until his scandal. I mean, there was always Evel Knievel toys up until that point. The Remco McDonald's characters were a massive flop for the company. These guys had a lot of TV exposure, and it seemed like a safe bet, but it turns out that kids really didn't want to play with Ronald McDonald and Grimace. And of course, I cannot not mention the Mego superheroes, which, if you haven't heard, are returning to store shelves in their original boxes this fall. Mego is planning the 50th anniversary of these figures, and that's despite being a lifelong Mego fan. I never thought we'd see the day when, boxed superheroes with paper stickers would be returning to store shelves, and I think we're better for it. The only other piece in this that still kind of haunts me is the Vincent Price shrunken headset. I always wanted that as a kid. I just wanted to know how it worked. That was kind of my thing. I probably would have gotten this, figured out what you did, and then never touched it again. Curiosity is a real motivating factor for a kid. So that is my look at this Child World flyer from 1976. And I would love to know from you, if you could pick one toy from this flyer, what would it be? Me personally, I'm really torn between the Remco Space 1999 utility belt, which would really look cool here, or the amazing Amsco Space 1999 playset. I love Amsco playsets. You can check out my video on the Planet of the Apes one I own, and I do not own this Alpha one. So maybe that. I don't know. But let me know in the comments below, or you can hit me up in our Facebook group, Pod Stallions, where we talk about these important decisions all the time. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at Plaid Stallions. No wrong way to do it. Thank you for watching. If you're new to this, I hope you'll consider hitting like and subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, please consider sharing it. It really helps me out. Until next time, folks, be well and talk toys, not others. Cheers.